on this Zeiss SL-120 or 130 or 160, you have a tiltable prism head that stays in position even though you're moving the prism head out of the way. And on the front of the prism assembly there is a diffuser that can be flipped into place, in or up or down, to diffuse the light. And sometimes these diffusers break and they need to be replaced. Now, if possible, it's probably better to leave it in place while you're replacing the diffuser, because when you loosen these screws and remove the whole assembly, you're going to have to readjust it. So if you don't want to have to readjust your alignment and everything of the light, you can do it in place. Or if that's not a problem, go ahead and take it off. But what we're going to do is push the pin through. It's held on by a pin that goes in the bottom, and it pivots on a pin. And all we're going to do is get something thin and push the pin out of the way so that we can replace it, and then we can push our pin back. And this small hole is about a 1.3 millimeter. So if you had a small Allen wrench, it's either 1.3 or 0.050, then you could slide it in there. And if you didn't have the pin, it's about 14 millimeters in length. And the width of the diffuser is 10 millimeters. And sometimes it's gone completely in the pin, and it's still important to maintain that spacing, because if not, it's going to put pressure on your prism that moves when you turning it up and down. It's moving, it's pivoting at the same angle, and so this space is important so that it's not pushing your cover against the prism and holding it from moving correctly. So that space, that 10 millimeter space, needs to be maintained so that your prism will continue to work correctly. So with our little Allen wrench, we're going to try to push it through one way or the other. You can see it coming out on this side. Okay, well, I happen to have pushed it all the way out, but if you could just push it out enough so that it stays in there, that might be better for you. And we're just going to take out the old piece, if it's still there. And then here's our pin. We're going to push it back in a little bit to get it started. And be careful the edges can break out and you can lose your pin supports. So be careful when you're pushing that you don't rock it back and forth and break this thin plastic. And when we put it in, we're going to put it in like this so that it tilts up. We're going to put it back in place and push our pin. You might need to get something to push against it. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold it in place, taking our Allen wrench. We're going to put it on in the other side so we can hold it in place. While we're pushing our pin, it's going to stay straight in. So I know I've got the alignment right. Now it's just a matter of starting this end, and then I'm going to push that out. Once it starts going, it's going to be pushing that out and keeping it right in line. I've got a little pointer. I'm going to push it until it goes past this side. When the pin disappears from view, that's probably enough. And then check operation of the diffuser, make sure it's flipping well. So we didn't have to take the screws out of here and mess with our alignment. Of course, we're going to check. But if you had to service the Prism tilting assembly, you would have to take the two screws off, and it rests on this pin. This pin is pushing the whole assembly to tilt, and as you're turning your whole assembly down, the plate under here goes up and down, and so it moves this pin one way or the other. So this pin is removable, and it's got more of a round tip on it and a flat. And the round tip is going to go to the outside because it's going to be against a little brass plate, and so it's going to be moving around as that plate is moving around as you're turning it. So you need that little round area. And this prism is held in two places, at the bottom and the top, and not in the front. So if your prism was out, then it would mean that something came loose. Or to take it off, there's a screw here that has a little plate, and that plate can go up and down to push down against the prism to hold it in place. This side is stationary on this back plate, but this side you can move it up and down. So if we loosen it a little bit, can move that plate up or out. But it's just enough to release your prism. And then your prism comes out. So these are the sides on the outside, and then this is the side on the bottom. So the long side is going to be on the inside. And then these surfaces will be on the outside. So if you needed to clean your prism, you could do that. And in here, you have a spring. A spring is in there. And another screw. And that screw is holding everything together. That spring is giving it the tension to push back into place. So sometimes that little spring might come out of its place and you're going to have to maneuver it to put it back in. It's got a little tabs on there so that it's supposed to stay right in place. But if you had to even service that even deeper, everything is tilting on this shaft plate that goes through. In and of itself, it's just a hollow shell. So there's a pin there that everything pivots on. So if we take that screw out, that screw is screwing into the shaft that's going through there. Now when I take this off, we're going to lose our spring. It's going to come out of place. Okay, there's our spring. I'm holding it in place so that we don't lose our spring. And now we could even push our little pivoting shaft through, but I'm still holding it down so to maintain that spring in the back. But this will come out. Okay. So this is all plastic. I've still got my finger on this plate. Now I'm going to release it. So now you can see behind where that spring, there's a little tab right there that the spring fits on, and then it goes inside here. So when you're putting it back together, that's how it would go, but we're going to pull this all the way out so you can see it. So here's just the shell. I'm going to leave this toothpick in here for now. And here's the back of this. And you can see the spring, one end, and the other end is going to slip into here. You can see our adjusting plate to adjust according to the mirror, fitting it in. First, the mirror will fit in here, and then it will slide this plate and tighten it, and that will keep the mirror in place. And so if you're servicing this this spring is going to go back into this hole. Oh, while we're here, I'm going to show you how this, up here, where it adjusts, there's a screw. And when you're adjusting your prism on the outside, wanting to make it go up and down, you'd be turning this screw, you'd be turning this screw. And that screw pushes against the pin, the flat part of the pin, and you can adjust the length of your pin to adjust the height of the prism going up and down when you're looking at it through your binoculars. So that's what, and sometimes this little screw, as you're going through here, that screw is very tight. It might have Loctite on it to keep it from turning, and so you're going to have to get some acetone and free that screw up so that you can once again turn it back and forth so that it is once again adjustable when you stick your screwdriver through there to adjust it. So we've broken it all apart. Now to put it back together, I'm going to tighten this up to keep it out of the way and keep it straight. It looks like there's a little bit of grease in here. Maybe that's to hold it in place. Okay, we see our little pivot pin in here. We're going to aim to try to get that back right where it was. Like docking the space station. Okay, we've got it in place. Now we're going to put pressure down on it so that now we can install our shaft, pivoting shaft. Okay, went in easier than it went out. Installed it here so it's flat. Now we can install our screw. I've got some tweezers. Okay, that's back into place. It's moving freely. You should be checking it while you're putting it together. If this wasn't in here, or the diffuser was gone, it would probably be binding up against this movement. We've got that in. Now we can put our prism back in. I'm going to loosen the back of this since I tightened it earlier to keep it out of the way. Shift it out, and remember the long edge goes down into there, and it's going to lock into the front, and then we're going to lock this plate behind it. Once it grabs that edge, make sure you've cleaned your prism first. And now we can fit this edge of the plate on top. There it is. Putting it on, making it firm, and then tightening the screw. Still moving freely. That's a good sign. put our pin back in. Flat side goes towards the screw. Make sure it's still moving. You might want to put a little bit of lube in here in case it was stiff. And we've already verified that we could move our screw in here. We could turn it one way or the other. And that's access to that screw. You can see it disappear as it goes down. So that is determining the length to know how much to move it up. And then we'll install it back on our slit lamp with the two screws. And then we'll have to, before you completely tighten, you're going to have to turn and adjust the light because there's movement in here. And once you have it centered, hopefully you had it centered before you even started. But you could center it there, and then if the light needed to go up and down, you could adjust your light up and down with this set screw in the back. So this is a little diagram of the tiltable prism, and once again we see our spring in the back, and we see our screw here holding it into our round pivoting shaft, and we see the prism here and being held by this lip and this movable plate that this screw tightens once it's adjusted. And here's our pin, and here's our adjusting screw here. And if you needed the number of the diffuser, this is the number, the Zeiss number, and you may be able to get it from a distributor near you, or you may have to go get it from Germany. And once again, the width of, if you're putting just a temporary thing to hold it up wide, it's 10 millimeters. You can use just a little toothpick or something to hold it wide. But if you need the pin, it's going to be something around 1.3 millimeter by 14 millimeters, and or 0.050. You can see the spot where the pin rests on down here. It's made of brass, and as it turns, there's a brass rim around here, underneath here. You can see it moving. So that's the bottom of this pin is resting on that, and you might want to put a drop of rim oil on that little brass rim. And if you have your oil, put a little drop on the pin to make sure that it's moving freely, and then install it right on top of that brass rim, and then install your screws. Install your two screws, check your alignment with shining the light through it, left and right, up and down, the adjustment screw. When you're moving your prism up and down, the light should be staying the same height in your view. That's when you know everything is working fine.